With 50-plus years of combined produce, supply chain, entrepreneurial, and business experience, Craig Slade and Ed Bertad discuss the impacts of fresh produce on their lives and health. This podcast is a casual conversation between two friends just trying to get better. This is the Fresh CrEd.
Hey, seriously though, we are back.
We are. Look at us.
The expo's going on in full force. We were down there a little while ago. There's a definite buzz going on. I mean, we have our door closed here, but if we cracked it open, we could hear all the noise.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. Definitely, I think we've touched on some of these things as we were coming in earlier, that the Foodservice conference has been here in Monterey for over 40 years. So if you haven't been, check it out. Prepare for next year. Book your flights, all that good stuff. Register early, and thanks again to our sponsors. For those that aren't watching us, we have huge banners behind us with all of our sponsor logos. But definitely thank you to International Fresh Produce Association for having us, SunFed, Full Tilt Marketing, IFPA, and Wholesaleware. Thanks to you, because obviously without you, this would not be possible. And now joining us for this next segment is Robert Lambert, founder of Vantage Point Media. Many of you in the industry know, and now you know, as a trade media outlet, correct? Am I saying that right?
Yep, you did it.
So not only many people know, and now you know, but this guy's a legend in this business. Everybody knows Robert.
Thank you. I feel conceited saying thank you to
Please.
that, but it's a trap.
Oh, stop.
Oh, stop. Exactly.
Yeah. But I love the produce industry. The produce industry is great. We're also in the deli, dairy, bakery industry with delimarketnews.com, which is kind of a spitting image of, and now you know, of what they do. And, you know, I love the people in the deli, dairy industry. We go to Wisconsin and go to other shows, but it does not have the same people.
I wanted to ask. I was curious that you have a foot in both buckets, and curious on that perspective.
I have a big opinion too of why. You know, I compare it to like people who live in New York City. You spend so much in rent. You really want to live in New York City. If you're in produce, you're like, you know, you wear your heart on your sleeve, you know, kind of big-hearted, because you know, and this is a high-volume, low-margin business, and I just think, and it has that cowboy roots, and I love it. It makes people gregarious. It makes them loyal. It you know, it fosters great relationships. Sure, we're shifting more to RFP and automation and whatnot, but there's still a people business, you know, and there's so many factors with it. So you got to have those relationships, and produce personifies that to me. So,
yeah, it certainly is. I mean, you know, I try and describe, you know, because we're dealing with a living, breathing thing, and realistically, even once you cut it off, I mean, basically, then, you know, it's now dying, right? It's in the dying process, but it is still part of the life cycle, and it's all attached with emotion. I mean, from the people that grow it, they're very much, most farmers are super emotionally attached to growing and being part of the soil and the life and being the very beginning of that life cycle. But then even once you get to us and the selling of it and the pressure to get it somewhere by a certain amount of time, there's just so much emotion and pressure to deliver, and then to deliver at the end what is frankly energy for humans to keep going and waking up each day. I mean, it's like not only are you working with a living, breathing thing at the very beginning, but it is essential for the people on the other end that what you're giving them is, you know, something that's super healthy. It's probably the most efficient energy that they will consume out of anything else that they're doing. And so all that being connected together, yeah, it's a very emotional. You have to be close-knit in this business. I mean, you find yourself, it just endears itself to be like that. So,
and what a privilege to be on the right side of healthy food, healthy eating right now at this time. You know?
For sure.
Right? I mean, so I think that weighs into it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, and yeah, people are very emotionally attached to not just their farmland, but the products that they yield, and living, breathing energy for for people.
Yeah, and I mean, I've gotten into this. For me, I've gotten into talking about, we're in a fuel energy crisis right now, or, crazy, ridiculous prices in terms of what's going on, oil and everything. But through all this, I got to thinking about that as we're frankly in the energy space. At the end of the day, we're in the energy space,
right?
The most important,
the
energy.
ultimate energy.
Yeah,
Right.
we're selling calories.
What do you want them eating? Donuts or produce?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we're truly the most efficient fuel.
That's my biggest problem with the Dirty Dozen. It's like, fear sells, and you get these moms that are so worried about the Dirty Dozen. But I'm like, well, what's your option? Is it that fried donut?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it seems kind of crazy. Nobody, I mean, to break that down is, I mean, yeah, the whole Dirty Dozen thing, we could talk for a while,
Right.
but it would just be us.
Right.
So,
We know that story.
But now I believe that produce. You haven't always been a produce man. Is that correct?
No. I got out of college. I read this book called Liar's Poker by
Oh my
Michael
God!
Lewis.
I did not know. So hang on, before you go to that book.
Sorry.
So where'd you go to school?
I went to Berkeley.
Berkeley. All right. So Berkeley. So you're California originally, or?
Yes, Bakersfield, California.
That's where you're originally from.
Right.
All right. So you've already got farm roots. Nobody
Yeah.
goes to Bakersfield unless somebody's either an oil man or a farm man. You got to be
Right.
one of those two.
Carrots and oil.
Carrots and oil. That's it. Yeah, for sure.
There Will Be Blood, that movie.
Yep.
That's in our backyard.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Doheny story in the back of from Tehachapi to Taft to over to Santa Barbara.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I interrupted Berkeley, go to college, come out, Liar's Poker. I read the book as a young person.
Right. That made me want to go to Wall Street, and started asking everybody, does anybody know anybody who's in an investment bank? All my family, no. What? A what? So
well, and
Never mind.
Berkeley's not known for Wall Street.
not really.
Producing
no.
a lot of Wall Street.
I had a fraternity brother who was doing options on the San Francisco exchange, and
Mm-hmm.
anyway, so I started looking and hunting. And 6 months of living in Manhattan Beach, which was very expensive. I had saved up money and worked, and to get to go on some fancy post-college trip, worked, saved up, and it was almost at the end of my loot when I landed a job on the Pacific Coast Stock Exchange in L.A., which doesn't exist there anymore. It was a regional stock exchange for equities, stocks. And I worked for a specialist who made a market in over 80 different stocks. It was a team of 3 of us. And I took to it like a duck to water. I grew up around the racetrack, so it was very much
So you
like
weren't
that. It was
risk
reading-
averse.
No, and farming and horse racing, so not just taking risk, but risk assessment, judgment and discipline. And it was numbers. You're staring at numbers all day. So, but I liked that. And then I moved with that to Wall Street, and the market had shifted. They had moved my cheese. And so I shifted from equities to bonds, fixed income with Bank of New York. I met my wife. We got married. She wanted to move to California. So we made a deal.
So how did you meet your wife? Curious.
In a bar. My favorite little watering hole in Soho doesn't exist anymore. It was called the Red Bench. It was pitch dark in this place, and it was such a sliver of a little bar. One tiny little bathroom in the back.
Sounds amazing. Why did they close
story
this place?
sanctioned? Is this story?
Yeah,
Okay.
this is the PG-13 version of this bar. No, yeah. The first time I'd gotten in proximity, I had met her, and then I'd marked it, and I knew she knew the bartender who I knew, and the bartender totally tried to block me. I was like, "Hey, who's that girl?" And she's like, "Oh, she's not your type." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And then I walked in with one of my best friends, James Clark. And she's like, "Who's your friend?" I was like, "Hey, we can do a deal right now. You bring Raylan, and I'll bring my buddy." And that's how I got it done.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So you brokered a deal there.
Yep.
You were already used to brokering deals. Yeah, you were trading every day. So that was a piece of cake.
Yeah. So it was great. We got married, and then we were both in finance, so we were looking at LA or San Francisco, and then we had a lot of friends. A lot of my Berkeley fraternity brothers were from Sacramento, and my wife went there for 2 days. She goes, I like it here. She's from Richmond, Virginia, which is the capital city and has a river.
Mm-hmm.
Sacramento's not that different, and
American River, right?
yeah, American River, and we live about a mile or less from the American River today. So my 16-year-old son's out there. He drove me down. He just got his license 2 weeks ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, and we have another 14-year-old son, and life is good.
So, before you left New York, I think you were telling me that you were in New York on 9/11. Is that correct?
I was. I met my wife, and we first started kind of dating a week before 9/11.
Oh, my gosh.
And so I'd met this girl, and then I had a buddy playing football for the Bills, and I flew out to go see him, and I told him all about it. And then I got back, and it was 9/11 happened. And the first place I went was her place. First of all, the second building got hit when I was on the 19 train underground. I came out of the subway, and I looked up, and everybody was staring up, so I knew something was wrong. And I went to this hot dog stand, and I said, what's going on? He said, a plane hit the World Trade Center. So I was like, okay. In my mind, I'm thinking a little Cessna, it had been bombed in the early 90s. So, in my mind, I'm like, you can run a plane into it or bomb it or whatever, and it doesn't stand
At this
there.
point, you're not...
No, I'm not totally... I'm going to work still.
Yeah. Now, did you work on Wall Street?
Yeah, 100 Wall is where I was. And anyway, so we start watching the screens. About an hour later, they start saying terrorist attack. Now, at this time, buses, cabs, subways, all of it's shut down, so people are starting to migrate and walk on the street. I'm 36 stories up, so I can see this by my eyes. So throw my briefcase, take the tie off and get ready to walk, throw it in the desk and plan my course. I'm living uptown on like 70th and West Side Highway, which is far away. So I just started dating Raylan, and I'm like, oh, well, that's only about a mile away. Let's go there. And as I'm walking, I stop, and I get a bird's eye view of the towers, and it was very sad, and all my empathy and everything was for what I saw. And a little voice in my head just said, keep moving. Like, you got to go. This is really sad.
Yeah.
Now I'm walking down the street, and I just hear this screeching metal dragon. And I turn around, and there's a 100-foot tidal wave of debris. And it's just an instant, and now I'm just running, passing people. All my energy and concern is on my life. Like, I thought this wall of debris was with shards of glass and gas, and I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
Right? And then as it whooshes past you, I figure out, okay, I got to go inside somewhere. All these people were coming out of this building. I couldn't even pick out the building today that I jumped into. I went up the elevator. People were like, they want us out of the building. I was like, nope, I'm going up. I stopped like on the 5th floor. I'm like, do you have a landline? Because cell phones don't work in an emergency at all. Or maybe they do today, but this is, 2001, so zero.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And so I'm like, do you have a landline? And they said, yeah. I knew people were going to be worried about me. And I called one of my best friends, Randy Jamara, and I called him because I knew he'd be at work. He's in the produce industry.
Yeah,
right?
I figured with that name, I thought he might be.
And right, he's in Bakersfield.
Yeah.
Works for Jamara Vineyards, and I said, hey, call my mother and tell her I'm okay. And he did, and I stayed there. The second building came down, and I stayed longer, and everybody started leaving the building, and I went to Raylan's house, and
wow.
Yeah, and she had to come live with me.
Really?
Yeah, she was just out of a 2-year engagement too, just out of it. So she had no plans of falling in love or jumping right back into a relationship. But that the truth is that 9/11 like put us right
accelerated
into that
the
mode.
process.
Yeah.
So was 9/11, I guess, the catalyst that said, look, I'm out of New York. I got to do something else.
No, not exactly. Not yet. We had read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I had poo-pooed. It was on my coffee table for her. I was like, that's a horrible name for a title. I hate this book. And then she's like, no, I like it. Anyway, I got into it. I saw that it wasn't what I thought it was.
Right.
And so it had this whole thing about starting businesses and getting out of the rat race or whatnot. And that's what drove us, really. So we had written this business plan to start a salad shop. And so we had gone to Sacramento. She got a job. By the way, like 10 days into moving Sacramento, her whole division got shut down.
Oh my gosh.
So there's a lot of crying for a couple days. We had a lot of friends who were able to help us and give us a place to stay rent free for 6 months and this and that. So it was a really soft seat and it was cushiony. And anyway, she figured it out. She got a job right away. She started out at Goldman Sachs, and she's an incredible person. So
she's still at Goldman now?
No, she is now at a company called Mercer. But,
okay.
She's a star in her industry. She's something special. So she got a job. So I started out on trying to get a business going.
Welcome to Behind the Greens. Devoted to quality, consistency, and an ever-evolving perfect produce program, Nogales, Arizona-based SunFed is at the top of its game with fruit and vegetables produced by some of the world's finest growers. With the increasing demand for more flavorful and nutritious cuisine, SunFed is ramping up its eggplant program in the fertile soil of the Culiacan region of northwestern Mexico. The versatile vegetable is triple washed and packed in state-of-the-art facilities in order to bring a consistently dependable and superior product to market. Like all of SunFed's produce offerings, perfect eggplants are grown in both a sustainable and responsible way, ensuring that not only the product is cared for, but the people as well. To ensure food safety standards are not only met, but exceeded, the company has established its own internal food safety standards and audits, administered by SunFed's food safety specialists, while Primus Labs conducts field testing utilizing multi-residue screening. And food safety isn't the only topic that is top of mind for SunFed. In addition to having pioneered innovative packaging for eggplant under the Perfect Produce brand, SunFed has pursued advancements in extending shelf life with modified atmosphere/modified humidity packaging. For the customer that buys first with their eyes, this eye-catching, original campaign will bring both differentiation and quality to produce departments. Thank you for watching Behind the Greens.
Okay.
So I'd never run a till because I want to start a salad shop, whatnot.
Making me hungry, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, I could use a salad right now.
I get into the store and I'm running this till and I'm good with numbers, but man, I cannot count dollar bills. So
you can do.
I couldn't make that register whole at the end of the night like 2 times. I'm like, this might not be right for me. another friend had seen me do it. He's like, I gotta get you out of here. You got to come work for me. He's like, get your real estate license. Go look for land down the valley. So I started brokering land deals, assembling land in Bakersfield, California for a home developer out of Sacramento. And I had all these deals in play, Craig. I was going to make it. And they all popped. 2006, 2007. That guy right there, Max Lambert, he was born 2006. So I had a 6-month-old kid, and my business just went bust. People ask me, like, how'd you get into this business? I'm like, out of necessity.
Yeah.
So I sat down with a little website called lynda.com, and I was like, okay, I'm going to learn to shoot video and edit. Well, let me back up. I had this cousin who owns Baco Sweet, Country Sweet Produce, Mike Valpredo. He has a master's in journalism. Before he was in produce and came home to the family farm, he was a sports anchor at NBC.
Okay.
Went to the Greek, Olympics in Athens, all this stuff. Columbus, Ohio was the head anchor for sports NBC. So he had moved back to the farm, but he still had an agent in LA that worked for William Morris. And the agent kept saying, oh, it's interesting. You're talent and you're a farmer. And so he came to me. He's like, let's start writing treatments and ideas for shows about produce. And that's what we did. So we made this teaser, this silly little thing that's 5 minutes long. And although, we went into these meetings and I was like, they're never going to hire me. They've got 50 other guys with more experience to do this. And these are like not A-level production companies. These are like C or D level, small units. And they take your ideas and whatnot. But on this tester, he had Timco doing his watermelons at the time. Mm-hmm. And they saw this test and they're like, hey, make us one of those. We need a corporate video. And that's how I bought my first camera. So Rex Lawrence was the head marketer of Timco at the time, and he was my first paycheck. So we got that video going.
Holy smokes!
Right, and then a friend Jack Campbell, who was head of Delano Farms and part owner of 4-Star, he saw it, and he's like, I need one of those, and I need a website. So I went out looking for a coder who could do a website. I went through 4 people, and then I found this guy, Carlos. And then a week after Carlos, I found Whit. Whit started in production. He had gone to school for this stuff.
Yeah.
Filming, and he kind of wanted to be a writer. It took me about a year to figure out. I'm like, man, you're a salesman. I'm like, stop the writing. You're out of the production department. You're sales. I was doing 100% of the sales, and I thought I was pretty decent at it until I kept asking Whit. I was like, what should we do here? And like, this should be you. So
the story. So you don't understand how important the story is for my son-in-law over there, because he is in. What you're telling, see, as a young person, right? What I can see after 56 years and knowing how I got here, right, and all the bumps and fear and all the things that come along. When you're young and in that space, you're like, I'm never getting out of this grind.
Right.
I'm never going to, and it's just a matter of you just got to keep rolling and punching and figuring out what you want to do. But anyway, sorry to interrupt, but I'm just telling you, your story, I can assure you, if it resonates with nobody else that listens to today, it will resonate with him.
I tell my son all the time, like, the most important trait of my life was having a partner, my wife, because I looked at her and I was like, babe, just give me 6 months with this next idea. 6 months, please. It was 2.5 years till I wrote myself a check. But it was worth it. And she saw the growth, and she saw what I was up to, and she never came to me and said, where's my money? and so that's how we did it. My mother was living with us. We had another baby in 2008, and my wife was working. I was on the road up and down the state of California, running around doing this. And then after being a production company of doing, I don't know how many videos and websites we did in the first couple of years, I'm like, I saw Gary Vaynerchuk's wine library on iTunes Video, and I was like, I can do that. I can do better than that. And so I came up with the idea of shop talks, which are little videos that we do at the shows.
Okay,
and, United had just had their big show. It was the last time they had it in Vegas. And I mean, it was a huge show.
Yeah,
I had gotten these things in the bucket, but I had to edit like 12 of these things. And then I had to get a website that could run these things. And then I had to get the email and the,
to push it out.
Yeah, to push it out.
Yeah.
Constant contact or whatnot, and get it all synced up. So Carlos and Whit were instrumental in getting that started. And of course, I had my cousin Mike Valpredo being the interviewer while he was starting his company. He was still on the floor, trying to interview people. And so that was, there's a lot. We were juggling a lot of hats, and we're still doing production. And we started it 2008, and now started really right after PMA in 2008. And then, that's right after the stock market crash. We call this the nuclear winter because all the marketing budgets just shut down.
Yeah, everybody shuts down.
Right? Even my partners and I, we were looking at each other and we're like, maybe we should shut down. And now, like 6 months in.
Wow.
Yeah, we were at a, and I was like, please, let's keep doing it. It's gonna work. It's gonna work. And then we got one company and then another, and we were all video once a week when we started out, and then we.
I mean, like I say, I can remember, thinking, and all the way through as you guys progressed along, I mean, I'm an old guy, but I certainly appreciate the technology space, and that was the thing that resonated most with me in your early days, and just throughout the whole process of Analios. You guys always
just the presentation in general.
The presentation, but was always the guys that were ahead of everybody else, right? That video stuff that you guys started out doing, nobody else was really doing that at that time. That was brand new stuff, and that's kind of always for me is been super impressed by how you guys have always been able to take the production or the media space for produce for an industry that's not super technologically fast to move in that way, but you guys have made a big difference, certainly, for sure. It's where I get most of my content from. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
I appreciate the product y'all put out for what it's worth.
Thank you very much.
I really do.
I really appreciate it.
One thing before we get out, and we are getting up against the clock on here, one thing that you guys do in the snack magazine, right?
Yes.
I mean, that came after, so the Now You Know piece came, the video stuff, and then, how do you get to snack, and what's a little bit about
people were like, what do you want to do? Even my partners, Whit and Jordan was there, and they're like looking at me like, you print? But I had been going around and learning what the sales guys of this industry do. They go to Issaquah, they go to Bentonville, they go to, Cambridge, Ontario to see Loblaw and whatnot. And I had sat in those rooms and I looked at the coffee table, and I was, I saw everybody else's publications on there. I'm like, I'm going to do a high-end quality publication, and I want to compete right on that space. And our first one was 24 pages, and then we just kept. And the great thing about the produce industry is if you have customers and you have a good idea, it might not be there right at the beginning, but if you just stay at it, they will stick with you and watch you grow and be interested. And that's why I love this industry. I feel blessed for the clients we have and their faith in us to continue doing that.
They might look at you like you're a little nuts at first.
Yes.
But then they'll cheer you on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have we experienced a little bit of that?
We experienced that for sure, for sure. Well, look, man, absolutely fabulous to have you on today. That's some great content. And you know what? We are all blessed in this industry. Truly, I mean, the industry's blessed to have you and your whole team. I mean, I love the whole group. You've got such a phenomenal group of people, but you guys bring a lot to the business, and you guys make a difference. So.
Well, thank you. And I just want to say, for the record, this interview was supposed to be for Jordan Nakamura. So if I had my choice, I would have you guys interview Jordan before me talking, right? But I'm grateful now that we're done with it, that I got the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But when you have time, you should hear her story. She's an amazing person, and we are so fortunate to have her on our team. And she's like a sister from another mother for me. So,
Well, I definitely smell follow-up.
Oh, I was gonna say, Jordan, and she already knows. She's if she thinks she's getting out of this, that's not. She's not getting out.
So
of this.
funny. She shies away from the camera a lot, even though she's written a novella, and gone out on these, where you go reading book readings and whatnot. So I'm like, oh, so the novelist is shy. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So for sure, I was told that she's a tough interview to get. In fact, when she agreed. In fact, funny thing is when everything came out, she goes, "Craig, I didn't know you meant for this show." And I'm like, "Jordan, we stood and I pointed to the room where we were going to be doing it at the last show we were at." She says, "Yeah, I don't remember it like that way." That's but we certainly miss her. But we're thrilled that you were able to do it. It's been a pleasure, and we're going to get her on. She's going to wind up on here.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
Thanks,
Great
Robert.
opportunity, and I appreciate you both.
You bet.
Appreciate
Take
it.
care.